We're back with another edition of What's Next Longevity Deal Talk. With the Longevity Ventures Summit approaching, we're looking at telehealth, AI, and the Social Connect pitch competition in partnership with the AgeTech Collaborative from AARP. First, this message. Our sponsor in this episode is Magnolia. Here is CEO and co-founder Liz Tarullo.
Magnolia is a company that provides family caregivers all the tools they need to support their loved ones as they age in community. As more families navigate the transition of aging in place, we know the process can be complex, overwhelming, and very expensive. Magnolia members have access to aging experts to provide personalized guidance, exclusive discounts on relevant services, and a simple platform to manage finances. If you're in the business of caring for older adults, we'd love to hear from you. Write to us at hello@joinmagnolia.com.
I'm Fred Fishkin, along with Mary Furlong. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Fred. Great to be here today. What a wonderful podcast we have.
It is. The summit takes place at the Claremont in Berkeley on June 14th and 15th. There will be a virtual component as well with all of the content. Make sure you register at boomerventuresummit.com and use the code FOM20 for a discount. Mary, that 20 stands for something, right? 20 years.
Yes, we've been doing this for 20 years. And I have to say, when I first went to the JP Morgan conference, I was cued to watch the analyst. And so if you can learn from the analyst, that can really set the tone for understanding an industry. And so there is an amazing session we're about to have with Grant Chamberlain, and we're fortunate to have him on Deal Talk today to give us a preview.
Right. He's our first guest. He's the Senior Managing Director of Healthcare Investment Banking at Ziegler. Hi, Grant.
Hello, Fred. Thank you, Mary. As always, I really appreciate you doing this and helping us amplify our story. So we've been publishing white papers on the space. So again, I'm a healthcare service and technology investment banker at Ziegler, who is far and away one of the leading healthcare services and tech advisors in the space, and certainly the leading banker in the senior living space. And this is our fourth edition of deconstructing the telehealth industry. And what that really means is we've been trying to chronicle the evolution of digital health and telehealth in a manner that is digestible to the myriad of stakeholders in the ecosystem. So as part of this, we've been doing this since 2016. In the first white paper that we did, we actually had 207 companies that were in the white paper. This issue, we have 832 companies. And throughout this paper, we're going to sort of point you to pages that are in this. It's a 44-page document, and you should see the document sort of floating around the conference. And two of my colleagues, Dan Herman, who's the CEO of our firm, and Katie Schmitz, are also aware, and they're very familiar with the thesis here. But if you want a copy of this, you can send us an email, and we will send you a digital version of this. But in this paper, we sort of dig down into two core attributes, because I've sort of come to the conclusion that telehealth is now just part of the fabric of healthcare today. And really now we're focusing on two areas: how to create unencumbered access, both physical and behavioral, to the most vulnerable populations in the most underserved markets, including rural, urban, and senior. And then the other piece that probably is more of an issue today than at any point in time in history, and certainly going to become more of an issue in the future, is how to create the ability for these tools to optimize the workforce. We have to be using these tools, technologies, to advance the analytics of engagement of patients so that everybody is engaging with the appropriate provider at the right moment in time, and really at the right level of licensure, because we have such enormous shortages across the ecosystem today. You'll see throughout the paper that we also dig down into a number of areas that we've talked about in some of the past white papers. And on pages 21 and 22, we dig deeply into the biopsychosocial areas of the marriage between, four social determinants of health. And the great thing the pandemic has done is we're building a number of digital health solutions that help people get access, whether it's transportation, whether it's pharmacy delivery, whether it's food and food insecurity, and just basic content and education, so that a segment of the population gets access. And now, in the next area on pages 22 through 25 is an area that we've been speaking to, really at the forefront of telehealth. The ATA, which I was a board member of, we always used to state that we want to have digital health and telehealth be as good as in person. The one area that actually is likely to be better as, and proven to be better as, may well be behavioral health. And some of that is just by getting regular, adherence and compliance, people making their visits. 40% of behavioral health visits are canceled or are missed. Digital health and telehealth allows for, more consistent access and compliance, but honestly allows people to be treated by the right level of licensure. There's such an enormous shortages of psychiatrists and psychologists, and a lot of that can be navigated by nurse practitioners, licensed social workers, family members, caregivers, and allow that triaging. And there's a whole suite of digital therapeutics tools that are being built that allow for these solutions to fit seamlessly into the ecosystem of how healthcare can be delivered. Because if you're not dealing with underlying behavioral issues, the reality is you're probably not dealing with your diabetes, your COPD, your CHF, or other chronic diseases. If we can get our hands around the underlying behavioral issues that is really built out coming out of the pandemic, we're not going to do it. And the other area that we blow out in the paper is the huge cross section of the smart aging solution. So we really ask you to dig into the document. You'll see a wonderful cross section of those areas. So, to quickly say, what do we think is in this paper we're really pounding in? It is really about unencumbered access. How do we create tools that really are disruptive without being disrupting? How to have seamless access and easy to use solutions that are embedded within existing workflows that drive analytically driven engagement, that filters out the noise and provides timely and relevant feedback. Merry Christmas. Wouldn't that be nice? But the beauty is we're now finally at a place that these things are actually happening. And all of them come down to, can they create and drive enhanced patient self-management? Can they be built into evidence-based care pathways? And can they have value-based solutions fit within a value-based care solution ecosystem? But as we said before, at the end of the day, the biggest problem we have today in healthcare is workforce. We have a huge workforce problem, and these tools and technologies are going to be the only way we're going to solve this, because if we can use these tools to triage patients and get as much of the administrative and clinical burden and identification issues embedded in the work plan when the physician comes on or the provider comes on and the post-discharge is managed, it removes a lot of the burden of the administrative burden from those providers and allows everybody to some degree to operate at the top of their licenses. So this page is busy, but this really is just a representation of sort of the impact the document has. So I will encourage you once again to pick it up, because you are able to see within each of these subsegments sort of what are the driving themes. And once again, telebehavioral health is the connective tissue that's driving what I believe in strengthening the continuum of care for parties that are really dealing with that biological, social, environmental, and psychological implications of dealing with a chronic disease or a family situation, whether it's coming down with cancer or otherwise. This is a page that we can jump to that's broad spectrum of senior living solutions that we see, and you can dig into those, whether it is night and weekend coverage, remote patient monitoring, behavioral health, or supporting the care force. And the last thing I want to touch on is where is money flowing? Where is money flowing in the space? We're seeing money flow into all the areas we just spoke to, but the one area that we haven't talked about is in decentralized clinical trials and the last mile. And I think these solutions will really be embedded into the fabric of the smart aging continuum, because if we're not dealing with access to pharmacy, lab, and imaging in a seamless way, we're not going to be able to have all of the discharge planning and pathways for the care to be truly navigated efficiently. And ultimately, there's a desperate need for consolidation. So we are, as bankers, we're following the money, and we're following what's going to take place in the infrastructure. The sector and the space needs to consolidate. We need to have some platforms of real scale that can continue to be reinvestment and allows for the provider unit force, whether it's payers, senior living facilities, or otherwise, to create a platform of scale.
So just on the topic of social isolation, we had the Surgeon General come out 2 weeks ago. The social connections, a theme at our conference. We have both sponsors and speakers on that topic. But we also just saw a whole set of new business plans. Are there some companies that you think are going to emerge as the market leaders with this consolidation? Or should we not talk about them yet?
I'm not going to give you my name, but I'm absolutely confident that it's similar to what's taking place in the acute space. I'm going to use, the Epic and Cerner at one on the spectrum, the Matrix here and Point Click here, and then the myriad of subspecialty participants across those spaces. We're going to see similarly, what's taking place in radiology and consolidation. We're going to see sector-specific areas, whether it's high acuity that is in the health systems, whether it is participants delivering solutions into the senior living population. We're going to see real consolidators in the broad spectrum of remote patient and remote therapy management solutions. Yes, and my expectations is that we will have anchor tenants that are really driving, both the innovation and the tenants. But we're always going to have, similar to all those other sectors, we're going to have. You still go to the floor of HIMSS. You have big, huge monoliths that take up an acre of space. And you have a lot of innovation taking place, in the bottom quartile. That really is where, where it really presses and pushes the big platform participants. But we do need some players of scale.
I think there's going to be more funding by foundations, family offices, investors at seed angel, corporate, and government funders in all of these different categories. I want to just thank you for your leadership around clinical trials. Older adults, my generation, I'm 74, are well educated and they read a lot. And so to think about the barrier of transportation to get to the doctor to participate in a clinical trial or to meet with the investigator versus this could be quite disruptive to think that access to clinical trials could be easier and easier to navigate.
Especially even the burden on the family members,
right,
in the siblings, because it is such a critical component of the ecosystem of the senior living population to get access to these trials. And honestly, the biggest burden of access is, for many of these trials, is to get to principal investigator's office, which often can be 3 to 5 hours away. It is unnecessary. 70–80% of the trial can be done virtually. And as long as you have the regulatory and infrastructure to ensure adherence, compliance, and IRB compliant with it, there's no reason it shouldn't be part of it.
Well, I always like to be a champion for Ziegler's work everywhere, but especially in the Silicon Valley, as we see new funds forming an investment thesis. And this is really a key document that you'll want to have as you explore that. And so just a lot of rich material here. And the issues around health access and digital literacy are going to come together around reimbursement, which we'll turn to in our December conference. So just thank you for your leadership and the high quality of the work that you and your team do, Grant. Great to have you with us.
Thank you, and I'm honored to be here. Thank you, Mary.
Mary, our next guest is the author of a new white paper titled The Future of AI and Older Adults, Conversations Built on Data. We want to welcome Aging and Health Technology Watch Principal Analyst Laurie Orlov. Hi, Laurie.
Hi, Fred. How are you doing?
Laurie, congratulations on this new report, and we're glad to have you on the podcast today. You're going to be part of the What's Next Longevity Venture Summit in June with a really in-depth look at the report. I heard your enthusiasm when I talked to you week to week about AI. And you're saying this is the biggest disruption in technology in a decade.
Yeah, I think it's the biggest change since the introduction of voice technology, which we now take for granted. We are comfortable now talking to devices with our voice. But in 2014, when the future of voice, when the first smart speakers were introduced, we were surprised by the introduction of voice and the fact that we didn't have to type, and what a breakthrough it was for older adults. So it was a really big deal. And I think conversational AI, which became publicly available for us to download and look at it in November of 2022, is the next big thing since the introduction of voice. It was downloaded initially by 100 million people practically within the first day because everybody saw that the ability to have a conversation with an AI that was more than just ask a question and get an answer like you would do with a search tool was a breakthrough. What we didn't understand quite yet, but we are now beginning to understand, is the preloading of all of the data worldwide from so many sources that can enable AI to pass medical board exams and all kinds of other non-trivial tests, medical licensing, that turned out to be, when you load a lot of data into something and you apply artificial intelligence to it, you get a very interesting result. And that's what we're seeing now. So I think it's a major breakthrough. Always to remember, though, with major breakthroughs, that it's early in a major breakthrough. And just because 100 million people downloaded it, and because every company in the world is writing software for it, and because the software is coming out faster than you can read a new announcement, doesn't mean that it's there yet. It's like a lot of other things. It's not quite reached its potential. It may not have even come close to reaching its potential for helping us live better lives. So that's what I would say about this as why it's the next big thing.
Laurie, there's a lot of clickbait out there when it comes to AI, sometimes stoking fears. Tell us about some of the serious work going on and what it could mean for the future when it comes to aging and healthcare.
Well, so there's some grants that have been provided by the National Institute on Aging and the National Science Foundation that are funding research in how AI can be of assistance to helping us age well, helping us mitigate risk issues in our homes, helping us do a better job of caring for others. But all of that adds up to only about $75 million worth of investment. The real big money going at this is actually the commercial money that is being applied to produce better products, including today's announcement that you can actually download ChatGPT on your iPhone. That just happened today, soon on your Android phone. That means consumers will be able to benefit without sitting in front of a computer, and they'll be able to use their voice. This is where we need to head with this, is to be able to use our voice. But it's also important to know that AI is already being used in chatbots all over the internet for all kinds of purposes, whether it's to help people fulfill tasks they want to do, whether they live in senior housing, whether we need to provide social interaction for people who might be lonely, whether we are looking to detect issues with our face or our skin or other things. So AI is all over the place, and it's going to be, the chatbots are a way we interact with AI. And you can see at the bottom right-hand of many of the screens that you deal with every day, there's a little image at the bottom of the right-hand part of the screen, which is the ability to click on a chatbot and ask a further question and hopefully get a good answer. So I also want to make a point about fear, because if you think about the history of technology, fear has played into every technology transition that we all have experienced. And my favorite one, of course, is Y2K. I think the three of us are old enough to remember Y2K and how leading up to that January 1st, I think it was year 2000, leading up to that day, we were scared to death. We thought the world was going to come to an end. We thought all the systems in the world were going to stop. And in fact, nothing happened and life went on. So that was a media-fueled hysteria, I guess I would say. And the same thing goes with people fearing online banking, people fearing ATM machines, people fearing robots, which are now actually big players in our lives. If you've ever walked into a major retail store like Sam's or Costco, whatever, and you look at the machines that are actually cleaning the floors or stocking the shelves or doing all the kinds of things that you can see robots do, they're all powered by AI. I have to say, I run whenever I see that thing coming towards me in the store, but I know it's going to be able to sense that I'm there and it's not going to hit me. So I think this important thing is fear has been around for every technology transition that we've had in our lifetime and before. So it's not a big deal. It's fueled by media, though, because what does media want us to do? Click and read the article.
What I hear you saying, and I think this is right, that I remember when Mosaic and the internet came to the table. And then, of course, businesses were created and changes were in every segment of society. And then I remember voice. And of course, how did we ever live without our cell phones? And now we see this other transformative technology. And you're always on the early adopter side. And so we're beginning to see the use cases in that. I was at a dinner party recently and someone suggested to me that my next book, when I update it, I just use ChatGPT to help them do the research. So I thought, why not write the descriptions for the conference? Let's just ask them what they might come up with. But tell us about the work that went into this report. What was the process you used to gather the trends and the data?
So November 22nd, when the announcement of ChatGPT happened, I said, maybe there's a research report to be written that applies this to older adults. And I started asking people who I'd already talked to. I previously had written a report called The Future of Sensors and Older Adults. So I knew some people who were thinking about AI and older adults. And so I sent them notes, including voice people and sensor people. And I sent them notes and I said, I'd like to have a pre-interview about the possibility of writing this report and get your thoughts. And I did that with a couple of people. And then I created an outline for the report, which is a process I use every time. And then I sent the outline to a few people. One of the people who now reads my reports is Jane Sarasone Khan, who is the founder of Health Populi blog and a company called Think Health. And I asked her thoughts, and I did interview her for the report and about the role of AI in healthcare, which, by the way, of all of the applications of AI in our future, is probably the most exciting and disruptive and may take a bit of time, but it's going to change the delivery of healthcare. And if you haven't had a chance to see a brand new book that just came out last week, you should take a look at it. It's called The AI Revolution in Medicine, GPT-4 and Beyond. And by Peter Lee and a number of other authors, including a doctor who is not only a pediatric physician, but also has a PhD in computer science. But the book basically says, we may have written this book too early. The possibilities with AI in medicine are so amazing, not the least of which, of course, is helping doctors confirm diagnoses with based on information, helping patients get answers to questions that they can, in fact, follow up and ask follow-on questions. Because this is one of the issues we have in general with search. The follow-on question is not really part of the concept of looking for information. And so once you can have a dialogue, which is what conversational AI is all about, when you can have a dialogue, you can ask a follow-on question, and that it may actually revolutionize things for television journalists too. But the idea of what is the follow-on question to this topic, for which I don't even have a question, because I haven't thought about this topic.
You know, this reminds me, the first time when I started SeniorNet, we had an interview with older adults when I was young. And one of the question that this older adult has, when I go to the doctor, I feel like he doesn't listen to me. And I think, how will AI help patients get answers to their questions? And how will it help doctors as well?
You saw there's an example in the report about the fact that an AI can actually potentially show empathy that the doctor is too busy to show. That's one of the things in our future, empathy for our situation. But we can also ask questions of AI technology that we would be embarrassed or unwilling to. And that was another one of the interviews I spoke to, asking a person in a consultation with a doctor face to face, how often do you smoke? How often do you drink alcohol? I mean, it's a question of whether people actually lie. Do you get exercise every day? But in order to get a useful answer to a question for them, they might actually answer that question with an AI that they wouldn't answer to the doctor.
Yeah, that's really an important point, because there are a lot of sensitive areas as you get older that you may not want to admit. Cognition is one. Mobility is another. Anxiety may be another. And so if there's a safe place to get more more of a contextual understanding and empathy, that's a good thing, right?
Right.
And
It's,
Go ahead, Fred.
3, 2, 1. There is an interesting point here, though, Laurie, and you brought it up when you talked about the fears of the public. You quote in your report a Pew Research paper as saying Americans are more concerned that healthcare providers will adopt AI tech too fast than too slowly.
Mm-hmm.
So people are they know it's coming, but they're skeptical, worried. I'm not sure what the right word is.
Well, and it's appropriate to be skeptical. And also, about the pace of adoption in healthcare of any technology has been somewhat glacial. And that healthcare providers are still bogged down with electronic health records and with writing up documentation of diagnoses and other things that they have to comment on. But one of the aspects of AI that's turning out to be the most remarkable is the ability to actually speak to it and have your notes dictated into and well understood and dictated into a document that you can then just review and say, yes, that's what I said, or you make a few minor changes. I think that's a breakthrough for doctors. Now, the diagnostic aspect of AI, and we already are in a situation of what I would call, I'm not the only one who calls it this, Dr. Google, right? We all diagnose ourselves. We look up on Google, we look for a symptom, we get an answer, and then we go into the doctors and we say, I think I have XYZ disease. And doctors are actually quite irritated by that. On the other hand, there's an opportunity for the doctor to encourage certain types of conversational tools that would help clarify whether you really have XYZ disease or whether you have something else and not to worry. And I think the not to worry element of healthcare probably is one of the benefits we're going to get from people taking a look at contextual information that actually is true, real information, as opposed to hallucinated, as some people are talking about conversational AI.
And of course, the NIA will be at our conference, and NSF and NIA are funding quite a bit of research here. Is that correct?
They are. They have some sizable projects running and are pouring a lot of energy into this. And one of the people on my panel actually is part of that effort, Rama Chalepa from Johns Hopkins University. Yes, they're very interested in moving forward with the role of AI and aging. And they started that before November 22nd, 2022. They became interested in it earlier than that. And they want to see something done about how AI can be used to help people in so many ways. Mobility, detection of frailty, changes in facial expressions that indicate condition changes, changes in your voice. Right now, your voice can be used by an AI technology to detect over time whether you're becoming more or whether your Parkinson's symptoms are starting to show up. And one of the examples that I got in one of these interviews, I don't know if I put it in the report, the idea that people can record their own voice. And later on, they can use the recording of their own voice to respond to conversations, even when their own voice has deteriorated. I think that was ALS, people with ALS. So it's early. It's an incredible opportunity. It's all you hear about in the media these days. But the important thing is to stay tuned for what is really going on. And I think you should take a look at this book, The AI Revolution in Medicine, GPT-4 and Beyond, that just came out, in which doctors look at the potential of really revolutionizing delivery of healthcare, which needs a revolution. It's so bogged down in electronic records and a race against time to get all work done.
Perhaps related to that, Laurie, and this is Deal Talk, so this is a relevant question here too. How might AI be able to alleviate some of the severe staffing shortages today?
Well, some of the people I spoke with talked about optimizing care work. And in fact, the inefficiency of care delivery, that is home care, assisted living care, nursing home care, all the cares. These are very inefficient processes The best example of this would be you hire a home care aide for 4-hour blocks, and the home care aide helps you with the 1 or 2, 3 things that you need, and then sits with you on the couch while you both watch TV. That's an inefficient process. We need to make some of these processes more efficient. The example I was given actually had to do with tracking, with sensors tracking movement in a senior care facility to be able to tell the staff the next day which of the residents had a bad night, and then only focus on the resident that had a bad night versus sending staff up and down hallways to open doors and check in on all the residents. So that's another example. So how to make work more effective, how to optimize the finding of care. Because care is a scarce resource right now, partly due to low pay and the fact that there's other jobs available, but it is a scarce resource. So how can we find the right care for people, especially when their care needs may vary over time or be a combination of needs, not just I need home care, I need food delivery, I need transportation, I need 4 things that are not provided by the same individual. So optimize care resources, assistance and help in finding care, and doing a better job of matching people to the care they need.
Well, I've just seen some of the investment groups putting AI as part of their investor thesis in the years ahead. So I think we will see more funding going into new solutions, and entrepreneurs are beginning to think about new ideas and new solutions. And of course, we had Botco AI and Carlton on our podcast, Fred, early on when we saw Botco providing a staffing solution for Carlton. Laurie, you mentioned to me earlier that you might need to do a second iteration of the report, right? So
it was a little early.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to your full presentation at the What's Next Longevity Venture Summit, and so wonderful to be with you here this morning.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Mary, with the What's Next Longevity Venture Summit coming up very soon, the finalists have been selected for the Social Connect Pitch Competition.
Yes, this should be a great event that we're doing along with the AgeTech Collaborative from AARP. And with the focus that the Surgeon General now has talked about isolation and loneliness, it couldn't be more timely. And of course, this has been a long time passion of mine to find solutions around this topic. So we're thrilled to see the finalists today, Fred. Very exciting.
It is exciting, and they're joining us here. We're going to take them one at a time here. First finalist, Helpful Village. Manuel Acevedo is the founder and CEO. Manuel, tell us about the company and what you're doing.
Hi, Fred. So my name is Manuel Acevedo. I'm the founder of Helpful Village. Maybe you have heard of the Village movement before. So it's basically, I guess, the most popular aging in place initiative where basically neighbors help each other so that they can all stay at home with a little bit of help from their communities. So we do the technology that allows them to volunteer for one another, to register for events, and all of those things. So it's really about aging community and aging in place.
Where are you based, Manuel?
So we started the company in Berkeley, California, but I'm calling you today from Salt Lake City, Utah.
Terrific. Next, we're going to turn to Ophelia. Eben Pingree is the co-founder there. Eben?
Hi, Fred. So we are building a product called Kinsome, and it's focused on strengthening intergenerational connections within families. So we're particularly focused on the grandparent-grandkid bond, and we saw an opportunity to use conversational AI to kind of tease more substantive updates out of kids and teach them to kind of share more of their lives and build deeper relationships with their grandparents.
How did you come about doing that?
Unfortunately, there was some family health stuff that kind of got me thinking about this space. My mother and my father-in-law were both diagnosed with Alzheimer's within a week, about 4 or 5 months ago. So that was the impetus. And then I actually live in a fun situation where my parents live above me and my brother lives below me, and we have 6 little kids. So I have 3, my brother has 3, and just watching them interact with my parents and kind of seeing how that helps keep them younger was a big inspiration for us.
Where are you based, by the way, Evan?
Our team's all Boston based.
Next, we're turning to Romy Health with Kaylin Shu. Kaylin?
Hi. Yeah, so we're building something called Romy Health. It's a technology-enabled platform for providing on-demand out and about services and to facilitate human interactions and companionship for older adults and also provide support for remote family caregivers.
Tell us a little more about how you go about doing that.
Yeah, so the idea came from observing my mom as a caregiver for my grandmother, and I'm also a remote caregiver since I'm studying abroad. And me and my teammate actually started the idea from a class project, and we decided to move it forward.
Where are you based?
Yeah.
We are all based in Boston.
Next, company called Bream, B-R-E-A-M. Ryan Reed, the founder and CEO, is with us.
Hi, thank you. Bream entertains, meaningfully engages, and improves the health of older adults. Lack of access to meaningful engagement, in particular arts and wellness, is why I've dedicated my career to this space. I founded Sprat, my previous company, and was a Fulbright researcher in Nepal, studying the way that older adults are treated and integrated into communities there. And I brought all of that knowledge into founding Bream last year. We invite older adults to take a nutrition, fitness, or art class, join our community hub and make new friends, and get professional advice about their health needs. Our solution is helping older adults, caregivers, and care organizations improve mental, physical, emotional, and social well-being through affordability and accessibility. And I am based in Berkeley, so the conference is right in my back door.
Wow, no reservation needed. Thank you. Next, Momentra. Tony Wilson is co-founder and CEO. Tony?
Hello, everybody. Nice to meet everybody. And first off, thank you for all of the work everybody's doing to help older adults and, build those connections. So Momentra was founded to help older adults live well and with purpose. We do that by building connectivity between their community, the family members, helping them with technology, and also stimulate connection via a human being, because every older adult we work with gets a dedicated care ambassador. So this care ambassador is there to check in with them via text, via phone call, via video call, if they can get on a video call or a landline, whatever's needed. Develop that rapport, give them an outlet, someone to speak to. And then once we develop that trust relationship, we really begin navigating care to what we call enrichments or healthcare benefits. Anything that will help them across their social, emotional, and physical well-being. We do a social determinants of health scoring, and then give them a score across social, emotional, and physical well-being. And then we provide enrichments, whether that be getting them into the community, volunteer opportunities, at-home fitness, getting them to silver sneakers, transportation, food security, you name it, to get them the services they need. And then the final thing we do is we connect their circle of care, their family members to the dashboard, so they can not only see everything that's going on and bring them peace of mind, but also we stimulate connection between the family members as well.
Where are you based?
I am in San Diego, so just a short trip, not too bad for me to head up to Berkeley.
And the reason that you got into this?
Yeah, my co-founder and I have been best friends for over a decade, and his prior business was in senior homes. And, one of the things that we talked about was, well, two things really. He would go into these senior homes and do audits and see people sitting by themselves. And I know it sounds cliche, but suffering in silence. So he came to me about 3 years ago and said, Tony, we have to do something about this. And also seeing my parents, same as Eben, I think it was, I moved my parents into my house, and I've seen now that they're interacting with my kids, how their health has improved. So stimulating those connections became a big part of our mission.
Just terrific. And finally, Hively, Hively. Angela Gu is co-founder and CEO. Angela?
Thanks, Fred. And hi, everyone. Really great to meet you all. My name is Angela Gu, and we are building Hively based in Boston. We're really focused on solving the problem of how just incredibly lost and isolating the transition into retirement can be. And our solution is a personalized retirement navigation and membership platform for post-career adults that provides small group peer cohorts to really navigate the transition with, vetted wellness experts across things like sleep and nutrition and brain health, as well as curated programming to really explore and holistically design what's next.
And why did you get into this?
Yeah, my co-founder and I have some loved ones who we've seen and helped out and supported through kind of the mental health toll that aging and retirement can really take. And so we're really motivated to solve this problem and came together to build Hively.
Mary, this is really going to be some competition, isn't it?
Yes, I'm so excited by the purpose that all of the entrepreneurs have to their work, and also the solutions that they're going to provide. So this is the most exciting part of our work, right? To discover new talent and to see their involvement in the longevity market. So a great time ahead in a couple of weeks when we all meet in person.
And let's talk a little bit about the Longevity Venture Summit coming up June 14th to 15th in Berkeley. Mary, the agenda is really shaping up to be terrific.
Yes, there's amazing talent speaking on the future of senior housing and wellness. There's sessions on AI and aging, really important topics. There are the top women leaders in healthcare, and there are 4 different panels on investment with seed, angel funding, investment in early stage companies, later stage investment, government investment, and investment from NIA, and lots of lessons that all of you can learn from other entrepreneurs who can teach you how to sell into senior housing or how to launch your business and get the PR and the frequently asked questions right. So it's just jam-packed with amazing people and talent. And it's an orchestra of talent that we bring together when we do these conferences, Fred.
It's going to be really exciting. Again, the What's Next Longevity Venture Summit is set for June 14th and 15th at the Claremont in Berkeley. You can still register at boomerventuresummit.com and use the code FOM20, Friends of Mary 20, for a discount. And Mary, that 20 numeral there has some meaning, right?
Yes, it's our 20th year of doing this. And, you know, I have seen runner-ups, lessons to the finalists. I've seen runner-ups go on to build $100 million companies and become AARP partners. So don't feel bad if you don't win, because just being on stage as a finalist is important. And so it's very exciting to see how open people are to sharing lessons about how to build your business. I think of these conferences as 2 days in the longevity marketplace, your MBA, if you go for 2 days. But I've been doing this for 20 years. So there are deep lessons that we have about how to go to market. And of course, Fred, such a privilege to produce this podcast with you. We're very grateful for our podcast sponsor and for everybody who makes it possible.
And the networking that you will all see, all of you finalists will see, is amazing and really, really valuable. We want to thank all of our guests, the finalists. Best of luck to you all. Grant Chamberlain and Laurie Orlov for spending time with us. Our sponsor is Magnolia, Thrive at Home with expert support. Find more at joinmagnolia.com. Thank all of you for watching or listening. Tell your friends. You can always find us at maryfurlong.com/podcast.